Women of Reddit, what is your worst nice guy experience? When I read and didn't respond to his message. He texted me who or and you I'm a nice guy. The irony. Anyone I've ever known to say I'm a nice guy or I'm a nice person usually is not a nice person. Because what the duck? The way people perceive you isn't entirely up to you. And reminding people how pleasant and awesome you think you are is just ouchy as hell. A guy friend in junior high. We had several classes and sat next to each other. Platonic. Loyal friends for 2 years before he got weird. He was hilarious. We could talk about anything. His house had a pool. So during warm weather a bunch of us would swim at his house after school. One day he invites me over to swim after school. When I get there, no one else is there. Which was weird. He was splashing me. Sort of aggressively flirting. Dunking me. So I get out of the pool and he pins me down to kiss me. So I play it off as joking and leave. I give him the cold shoulder after that and he was pissed. 2 weeks later and at a different friend's house he and I are both there for a swim birthday party and he and another guy give me a simultaneous front and back seesaw which is like a horrible double wedgie in the pool. My swimsuit cut me so badly I bled. I hate you, Pat. I own a small vintage clothing store. I have a regular cross-dressing old man who comes in looking like Linda Richman and smelling like grandma if grandma was a whore. Well, he was very sweet at first but then started coming in and saying semi-perverted things. Then one day he came in and we were having a casual conversation and he interrupted me with this. Standing here talking to you and looking at you is making me hard. It feels like I might come in my skirt any second. Nice. One of them grabbed me by the neck and choked me against a wall for not wanting to kiss him. Another one stalked me for months because I wouldn't duck him. Another one bought me a drink. Tried to force himself on me. Then followed me home and actually tried to get in because I owed him. Those are the ones I can remember right now. Another one waited until I passed out at a party and tried to grape me because he was afraid I would say no. Met a guy in high school who was really nice. We would talk and hang out at lunch. One day, he called my house at 2 AM repeatedly until I answered and told him it's too late to talk. After about the third time he called again and my sister, my guardian at the time, answered and told him to stop calling. He called her a witch and he stopped calling. The next day at school I avoided him and he followed me around. I made sure to be around someone at all times and he would harass another guy and say, "Why are you trying to steal my girl?" Then when I was sitting at my desk he sat on the ground by my feet and kept trying to slide his hands up under my clothes. After about a week of this he finally left me alone. I've had a bunch of nice guy friends who stopped talking to me after I made it clear I wasn't interested in dating them. But the worst was one guy who was legitimately my friend for 2 years and seemed to not mind the fact that I wasn't attracted to him and claimed he wasn't attracted to me either. Pretty much he ended up calling me a whore, telling all our mutual friends I had played him, and shutting me out. Edit. There was also the nice guy I was friends with for a year who pinned my arms together and forcibly kissed me until I wriggled away free. Then didn't understand why I didn't talk to him after that. Can't forget about that gem. I have a reproductive issue. It won't heal me but for the most part, I can't have kids. I had confided in a male friend of mine about some of the sadness I was having over it, coupled with a bad breakup I had just gone through. And he tried to cheer me up by saying, "But you're perfect." I was confused so I asked him to elaborate. "You're hot. You look like Black Widow. You're funny. And you can't ever get pregnant. What guy wouldn't want you?" When I told him that wasn't a compliment, he told me that I'm too much of a social justice warrior to see when a real gentleman pays me a compliment. Became friends with this guy in college. After graduation he got a job and moved in with his girlfriend about an hour's drive from where I was in grad school. I drove out one Saturday to see him. Did some cool things. Grabbed some food. He waited until his girlfriend was in the bathroom before he told me the following: "My boyfriend probably had a low sperm count due to his profession. And if I ever wanted a family, He'd always be willing to take me back even though we'd never been together. Yeah. Haven't seen him since. Edit. For those who are having a hard time parsing this, nice guy says my boyfriend probably has low sperm count. Offers to start family with me. Also thanks for gold. I was 16 and quite lonely, so I posted something on Tumblr so people would message me. I added a 26YO guy from NY. I am from Switzerland, so time zones are different. In my mind it was clear and it seemed obvious that I didn't want anything romantic as we had 10 years of difference, and I told him that I only wanted a friend. Well, after messaging for a while he told me he had to go to sleep and made me promise to continue to talk to him once he woke up. Weird, but whatever, I thought. Few hours later he messaged me and talked about how he wanted me to be his girlfriend and so on. I told him again that I was only looking for a friend. He lost it. He began insulting me, telling me I lead him on, even though I told him I was only looking for a friend when we first talked. I ended up having to block him because I couldn't get him to calm down or to understand that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. I never made another post to meet new people online after that. This thread makes me sad. There are tons of genuinely nice guys who don't just want to have sex with you, so they're pretending. I imagine it's kinda like a GOT quote. Any man who must say I am the king is no true king at all. It's kinda like that with nice guys. I've had some bad experiences with nice guys, including to harassing me to the point I dropped out of schools for the semester. But the most recent one was such a no my heck really that it's almost funny. Almost. The very first date we went on was a double. Don't trust guys much anymore. Sorry, with my obviously gay best friend who is seriously like my twin brother. Naturally. When everyone was leaving I hugged him. My date put his arms around me and started barking like a dog. Like. Straight up ROWF mine. I sat there in shock for a few seconds trying to process what had just happened. But my best friend looked the guy dead in the eye and said, "She is not a tree. You did not pee on her. Never do that again." Bark Boy took offense to that. He still hates my best friend, but wasn't dumb enough to mess with him. So that's something. Instead he complained loudly about the guy every time I saw him because I was stuck at the same small college as him for a year and he was determined not to give up after that. It's a long story. But after almost 2 years of him not giving up that easily, I finally had to threaten to tell his mom he was harassing me. I wish I was joking. It worked. Though. He believed all governments were evil. Feminism was the work of the devil and unfair to men. Gay men are handy eunuchs to protect his harem. And the world will end, but he'll survive with his friends and his katanas. He is afraid of no man or authority. But terrified of his mom. TL. Dr. Dog Boy tried to make me his fire hydrant. So my best nice guy experience was a guy I actually did try to date. We went out once. He didn't have a lot going on. No job. No college. Pending assault charges in another state for a 17-year-old girl, which he let me know on the first date. I decided that maybe now wasn't the best time for him to be dating, but he was funny and nice, so I said let's stay friends. He agreed at first, but then he started calling and texting me constantly. Whenever I didn't wanna hang out with him, it was because I was too busy being a slut and catching chlamydia. As soon as I would respond he would apologize and be nice. For like 5 seconds. This continued. Got worse. And I eventually just blocked his number. He of course just started calling and texting off random phone numbers. One night when I had ignored him all day, he left me a voicemail telling me what I was wearing that day and then going into detail about how he wanted to kill me and assault and also end my young child's life. I had to change my number and file a police report to get him to leave me alone. That's what I get for trying to find love on a Cupid. I used to be an isegai. The thing is, I have mental issues. Depression. Anxiety. Paranoia. Never try to deal with someone who says they're a nice guy. I'm no longer one. But that's after years of therapy and being on meds for just as long. If an isegai says he's reformed, Always be cautious. Looking at the girls I creeped out back then. And how I creeped them out. If I were them, I would not trust me. Judging from those experiences alone. Even if I can say now that I'm a different and better man, I will never expect anyone who I've creeped out to believe me. And they are justified. Anyone who's had to deal with a creepiness guy, cut him off immediately. It's not worth the stress or discomfort he will bring you. I made enough mistakes in my youth that I can generally spot them and run from a mile away, but my ex got his friends to report back if they ever saw me in public with another dude and would flip out. Or things like, I walked back to my dorm from rehearsal with a dude from my band. Anything involving another guy, I got screamed at and sometimes beat up. His rationale was that he was a nice guy. The only nice guy, in fact, was trying to protect me from other dudes who only wanted to grape me. He himself graped me a number of times while we were together. He did this shit for 6 months after we broke up too. Not sure it totally fits the bill. But my female friend and I, made friends with our older male teaching assistant and hung out sometimes. He had a girlfriend, we found out from someone else, but he never mentioned her. Anyways, it seemed like he was more interested in hanging out with me than my friend. But I didn't think anything of it. He was never inappropriate or anything. Then one day my friend hears that him and his GF broke up. He calls me that night and asks to meet at a bar. My spidey sense is tingling, but I go, I have zero romantic interest in this guy. He basically professes his love to me. I've always been into you. I don't even like your friend. I just put up with her to get to you etc. I am not impressed. I vaguely knew his GF and she is lovely. I feel awful that he has been secretly lusting after me. I don't want to be rude though. I was very young, so I say I'd rather be friends and that I am not looking for a relationship, giving me an out. He replies excitedly that that's okay. We can just hook up. I remain polite and repeat the just friends line. Then get out of there and never contact him again. Whole thing left me feeling icky. And my friend felt very betrayed. He never contacted her again afterwards since she was no use to him anymore. I haven't had many. But I had a recent one. Met a guy at work briefly. Later see that he friended me on Facebook and asks me out. I said I wasn't looking for a relationship. Especially with all my work troubles. He says he's fine with friendship. And says he understands me so much. Over the next few weeks he sends me messages about cats or the weather. Stuff like that. Usually about 4 in a row. All about an hour apart. I don't really respond much. Then the other day I wake up to a text that says, "Hey," so I write, "Hey, what's up?" I didn't see that the first text was from the previous night. He next text I get back says something like, "Well, I was going to invite you to a party last night, but I see you were hanging out with other people. It's too bad. I guess I'll just delete your number. I could have loved you forever." I text back basically saying, "What the hell is that all about?" He then says that he couldn't stand that I was with someone else and could I please understand. I thought the messages were mean because I met him once. Never hung out with him. Had good reasons for not starting anything. And yet he tries to make me feel bad when I'm already not doing well. Followed me back to my dorm from class and invited himself to get lunch with me when I tried to divert to a dining hall so he wouldn't know where I lived. Constantly berated me for not making enough eye contact with him the whole time. I was desperately looking around hoping I'd spot someone I knew to save me. Would constantly message me and make up stupid pet names for me and plan dates that I turned down every time. I eventually had to threaten going to the police to get him to leave me alone and had to let the professor of the class we were in together know so we wouldn't be assigned to any group projects together. Then another time I had a guy try to pull the "I have cancer" card to get me to petite date him. I'm sorry, but no. I also had a lot of male friends totally disappear on me when I got married. Friends I'd routinely interact with on Facebook and such and considered actual friends. Just straight up unfriended me as soon as my relationship status changed to married. That one stung a bit because I thought we were actually friends, but it turned out they were just waiting around for something that was never going to happen. I'm paranoid about leading people on. I'm petite with large breasts and eyes, so I seem to give the young exploitable anime girl vibe. I hung out with a guy, we watched Mighty Boosh and chatted. Before he came over I literally said I am not looking for a relationship. Please don't ask to be more than friends, as I had recently gotten out of a long-term relationship. Of course that apparently translated to him asking me out via text as soon as he got home. Upon politely declining, I was subjected to every sexual slur you could think of whilst being told what an idiot I am for passing up such a stand-up guy. Thus began his 2-year campaign of stalking. I knew a guy in college that took the fact that I was sexual with some other men to indicate that I wanted to be so with him. I let him know in no uncertain terms that I didn't like him, was not attracted to him, did not want to duck him, or be in any sort of relationship. He kept sticking his toe over the line though. Not enough to warrant a major response, but still pushing it. One night at a party he tackled me onto a bed and started groping me, trying to take my clothes off, etc. I'm not sure what he was thinking, given the differences in our sizes and temperament. I beat the shit out of him. Due to the pain I've seen sexual assault cause some of my very close friends in the past and the greater than average dislike of rapists I have as a result, I likely went way too far, at least from a legal point of view. However, that ended the problem. A random guy held my crutches for me as I walked down some stairs at uni. He seemed nice and joked about how he once broke a foot. It'll get better. etc. We get to the bottom and he asks if we could get some coffee. I thank him, but tell him I'm seeing someone, so he just drops my crutches on the floor and walks away. When I was 17, one of my most favorite people in the world passed away very unexpectedly. After the funeral we had a wake at the pub. Then family came back to our house to kick on. My cousin brought his girlfriend, who we knew and liked, and another friend who we'd never met before. I'd spent the day crying constantly, and I'm not a pretty crier, and at some point cousin's girlfriend came up to me, giggling, and said our friend really likes you. I said I wasn't interested, and after the usual comments, oh but he's so lovely, but he really likes you. She went away. After a half hour she came back and said he's outside crying because you rejected him. He really wants you to go out there and cheer him up. I got my uncle to go out there and tell him to bugger off. Was a friend of 10 years when I started dating a guy in our mutual social circle after my divorce. It was like a switch had been flipped. Suddenly I was a wanton who destroyed men. And he spent 6 months actively trying to get my boyfriend to break up with me. He told my boyfriend that women can hurt you. No shit. My boyfriend had just been through an awful divorce. Tried to set my boyfriend up with a friend of his who would be just perfect for him. Got mad at my boyfriend for not going out to strip clubs and living the bachelor life with him every weekend. Keep in mind, my boyfriend is a father of 2 and hadn't lived a bachelor life in well over 10 years. He told my boyfriend that I had a secret that would completely change his mind about me and reveal my true self. Turns out the secret is something I'd mentioned to my boyfriend offhand before we'd even started dating. It was not clear to either of us whether the nice guy wanted to date me or my boyfriend. Either way, he was salty as duck about our relationship. I was dating this guy. Really nice. We move in together. Awesome. He expects me to cook all the food, buy all the groceries, take care of all the bills, and do all the housework. He occasionally takes a break from his busy schedule of drinking beer and watching sports to tell me I need to go to the gym, stop eating. I wear a size 2. He also criticizes my housekeeping abilities and constantly tells me how poorly my parents raised me. I'm a successful woman with a master's degree. He barely graduated high school and has never had anything other than an entry-level non-skilled job. The kicker, he told me he was just being nice and trying to help me, because he cared so much about self-improvement. Needless to say, we are no longer together.